headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. This Friday in Bolivia started the first regional meeting of Abuyala peoples and communities. The meeting developed with the presence of the President of Bolivia, Luis Arce, the indigenous leader Evo Morales, and representatives of native peoples and campesino organizations of the region, and also will analyze the integrationist political agenda for the peoples, the strengthening of CELAC, the recovery of UNASUR, the ALBA TCP, and the consolidation of the Union of Workers of America. The agenda includes the debate for the identification of strategies against colonialism and in favor of equality and diversity of peoples.
I am happy for this summit with the collaboration of the Central Confederation. Only certain social sectors like CONAI Ecuador with Argentina to promote plurinational America and share our experience of plurinational state. I'm very happy. It is the first event that will continue after. That is the task, the way to fight discrimination and racism, but also a way to fight for equality and diversity in all of America.
The Congress of El Salvador recommended to the President Nayib Bukele the dismissal of the Minister of Defense because of his responsibility in the events of February 9th this year, when military forces entered the Legislative Palace. Investigative report concluded that the actions of the officials is a breaching of the democratic system and considers it an attempt of a coup d'etat. Both the Minister of National Defense, Francisco Merino Monroy, and the Director of the National Police, Mauricio Arriaza Chicas, appeared before the legislative body and made statements to the deputies. For his part, President Bukele rejected the legislature's claim, arguing that the governmental body lacks the authority to force him to do so.
Legislative Assembly orders me to remove the Director of the National Civil Police and the Minister of the Armed Forces. And do you know who votes for that shameful thing? First of all, I'm not going to listen to them because the Constitution does not give them that power. Let them read it first.
Guatemala's executive office confirmed that since last week, all government officials made their positions available to the President Alejandro Giammattei for him to evaluate the continuity of them. The Ministries of Social Development and Social Communication confirmed that this is a normal process under any presidential mandate, since the national president must annually ratify the complete ministerial portfolios or change some of them according to the needs of the state. So far, it has not been announced whether the principals in each ministry are maintained or there are any changes, nor has it been confirmed that any formal resignation has been accepted. President Giammattei must take the announcement between late December and early January 2021 in the midst of a serious political, social and governance crisis. The Association of the Indigenous Peoples of Brazil, APIB, revealed this Thursday the number of infections and fatalities caused by COVID-19 in the native communities of the Brazilian Amazon. The APIB, which works with the official data from the Special Secretary for Indigenous Health, SESAI, in collaboration with the National Committee for Indigenous Life and Memory, reported that to this date, 42,192 indigenous have been infected and 161 indigenous peoples are suffering the effects of the pandemic. The number of fatalities, according to the agency, is 894. In addition to COVID-19, the indigenous peoples of the Brazilian Amazon have suffered negligence and attacks by the government of Jair Bolsonaro. And the Cuban president stressed that the island authorities does not admit interference, provocation or manipulation. The head of state tweeted, "There is a group determined to hurt a country, doing everything so that this year, marked by the pandemic and the 1,000 tons of the blockade, ends badly for Cuba." The president affirmed that the enemies of the country know that attacking the culture in Cuba is the same as doing it against the nationality or the identity of the country. With great amounts of money ready to destabilize the revolutionary project, external agents have captured false cultists and activists who, in exchange of money, have compromised the security of the homeland in the middle of the pandemic, successfully controlled, although with a titanic effort by the Cuban authorities. Díaz-Canel reaffirmed that this government is not disconnected from the people, but far from that, the authorities travels around the country to constantly face-to-face with the people. In Mexico, the government reported a 15% increase in the minimum wage, a growth that takes place in the midst of the health crisis caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Our correspondent Eduardo Martinez has the story.
From the northern state of Sonora, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador celebrated the 15% increase in the minimum wage announced by the commission that gathers government's representative workers and employers sectors. This last only proposed 10%.
On this occasion, there was no consensus among the three parties. However, there were not many differences, but an offer of an increase was made by the business sector, and the members of the commission considered that it wasn't enough.
The president expressed disagreement with the criticism coming from the businessmen that exaggerate about the possible consequences that the increase could have. They argued that up to 7,000 companies could go bankrupt in the next 3 months.
Workers are going to have an increase that on a global scale is still embarrassing. How are we going to be in the G20 group of the richest countries in the world, and we are going to be ranked 76th in terms of payments of wages?
During the governments of the so-called neoliberal period, the president explained the purchasing power of the minimum wage fell by 75%. This situation has repercussions on the economy of families that, according to merchants like Carmen, already bought little, and now with the pandemic their sales have plummeted by up to 60%.
I realize that people don't have money. They ask for one thing and they say it expensive. It's the least. Yes, I can't sell any cheaper because I already have low prices.
The Economic Commission for the Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, highlighted in its latest report that the Mexican economy will be one of the most affected at the end of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mexico's economic activity recovery is around 3.8%. Obviously, a first projection and the drop by 2020 will be minus 9%.
This increase is expected by 2021, but it would barely be enough to compensate for a third of the decrease caused by the confinement and the costs associated with the presence of SARS-CoV-2 in the world. In general, the region will take up to 10 years to recover conditions similar to those it had before the health emergency.
And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Germany's health minister said on Friday that German authorities decide to vaccinate people in the high priority group against the coronavirus as the country grapples with a growing number of new cases and deaths from the coronavirus.
We cannot offer this to everyone at the same time at the beginning of the vaccination. There is not enough vaccine for that at the beginning. That's why we have to prioritize, and that's exactly what this regulation does. Protecting the most vulnerable, that is the first goal of our vaccination campaign. The truth is that we will need at least 1 to 2 months to achieve this goal of protecting the most vulnerable first. Only then can we think about gradually expanding the range of vaccines available, as the vaccination ordinance also allows us. For all of us, this means that the winter will still be long. We will have to live with this virus for a long time, but that also means that there is hope if more vaccines can be supplied, and more will be supplied step by step in the coming weeks. As of today, it will also be possible to obtain additional approvals, then more and more people in Germany will be able to protect themselves.
And Spain will begin immunizing its population against the coronavirus on December 27, a day after it receives the first doses of a vaccine, Health Minister Salvador Illa announces.
We continue thinking that around May-June we will have between 15 and 20 million Spanish citizens vaccinated, immunized, and we will give more information as soon as we have more details about the exact amounts we will receive and when of the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine and Moderna vaccine. We will need to continue with the measures which are in some cases drastic. We know that, but it is absolutely essential to support them and follow them strictly because we see the instability of this virus and how the situation can change in a few hours.
And the Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis announced on Friday that the first batch of Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine is expected to arrive in Greece on 26 December, and the country will roll out the vaccine the day after.
According to the latest information from the European Medicines Agency, the approval of the first vaccine is expected to be for the Pfizer vaccine on December 22nd. Distribution in Europe is expected to begin immediately after. We believe that the first batch of vaccines will be in our country on December 26, and from December 27 we will be able to have the first vaccinations in 5 hospitals in Athens and immediately after in Thessaloniki. Of course, we should be aware that only when we reach about 70% of vaccinated people amongst the Greek population, we will be able to safely say that the pandemic is behind us. As you know, we have already secured the safe transportation and storage conditions and the way to quickly transport the vaccine to the 1,018 vaccination centers that have been organized in every corner of the country.
And China's foreign ministry said Friday the country will continue strengthening cooperation with the World Health Organization in tracing the origin of the novel coronavirus globally.
Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, China has taken the lead in cooperating with the WHO in tracing the origin in an open, transparent and responsible manner. WHO experts have visited China twice. Chinese experts and WHO and international expert teams have held many virtual exchange sessions to actively share progress in origin tracing and experience in combating the virus. WHO has also updated China on progress in global origin tracing research. The two sides are steadily advancing cooperation and keeping in close communication with each other on next cooperation and work arrangement in origin tracing. China is willing to continue strengthening cooperation with the WHO to advance origin tracing of the coronavirus and hopes that other countries will work like China to actively cooperate with WHO and make full preparations for preventing and handling similar public health crises better in the future.
Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson also said China and Russia will work together to maintain the momentum of positive development of bilateral relationships between the two countries.
China has become Russia's largest exporter of agricultural products and continues to be Russia's largest trading partner. New forms of cooperation such as cross-border e-commerce between the two countries are also in the ascendant. At the China-Russia Year of Scientific and Technological Innovation, a list of items for cooperation, the longest for all the national-level theme years between the two countries, was released. The strategic connotation of China-Russia relations in the new era is becoming increasingly rich. The public support for the two countries' friendship has become stronger. The two countries have joined hands to defend the victory of World War II and have firmly supported each other in the fight against interference and stigmatization. We have become an important force in maintaining stability of the global strategic landscape.
And heavy snow continued to hit areas of northern Japan on Friday, leaving motorists stranded and causing power outages in some regions. The snow has been piling up a wide area along the Sea of Japan coast since Wednesday. In Minoyama, Niigata Prefecture, local media aired footage which showed several vehicles stationary on an expressway as heavy snow fell. More than 1,000 people in Japan were forced to spend the night in their cars on Thursday after a record snowfall blanketed parts of the country. According to Japan Meteorological Agency, heavy snow is expected in the country's north until Sunday. And we have more news coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. A powerful cyclone hit Fiji, killing at least 2 people and destroying dozens of homes in the Pacific island nation. While Cyclone Yasa proved terrifying for those in its path, there was a sense of relief in other parts of the country that the devastation was not widespread as many had initially feared. Fijian Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama said that those confirmed dead were a 3-month-old baby and a man aged in his mid-40s. The Prime Minister also said that the cyclone hit with wind gusts of up to 345 kilometers per hour. Cyclone Yasa destroyed many homes in Vanuatu, Fiji's second-largest city. Authorities said the cyclone was weakening on Friday as it moved southeast over some of Fiji's outer islands. And protesters marched in Indonesia's capital on Friday to demand the release of a firebrand cleric and justice for his 6 followers who were killed in a shootout with the police. Police officers detained Rizik Shihab, the leader of the Islam Defenders Front, who turned himself into the authorities last weekend, a day after police warned they could arrest him after he ignored several summons. Shihab was accused of inciting people to breach pandemic restrictions and ignoring measures to curb the spread of COVID-19 by holding an event to commemorate Prophet Muhammad's birthday and the wedding of his daughter last month that pulled in thousands of his supporters. Police said Shihab could face up to 6 years in prison if found guilty of inciting people to violate health regulations amid an outbreak and obstructing law enforcement. And more than 300 abducted Nigerian schoolboys arrived at a government house in Katsina on Friday after they were released by their captors. Katsina state government Aminu Bello Masari said that the group will receive a physical examination before being reunited with their families. Boko Haram claimed responsibility for last Friday's abduction of the students from the all-boys government science secondary school in the village of Kankara. Faction leader Abu Qasar Shekau said in a video earlier this week that the jihadist group carried out the attack because it believes Western education goes against Islam. The Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari said on Friday the government will keep on trying to keep students in the nation safe.
That the law enforcement agencies, in this case especially the military, the army, and the governor worked extremely hard. And as soon as they got them, the governor rang me and informed me, and I congratulated him and the army that organized the operation, and so their efforts is not good enough for me. Our responsibility, I said, is to secure this country for all the students to do their businesses without any problem. We haven't achieved that yet, but we'll keep on trying. Well, we are doing our best. Remember when we closed the borders, we found out that still somehow the terrorists or the abductors still get weapons and ammunition. They still take people hostage. They are collecting millions of naira. We have a lot of work ahead of us.
In Cameroon, a few civilians were at a military tribunal in Yaoundé on Thursday to witness the trial of 3 soldiers accused in the February 14 Nugarbour massacre of women and children. Lawyers for the victims speak out at the start of the trial of the 3 Cameroonian soldiers prosecuted for the murders of 13 civilians, including 10 children, during an operation in the village in the English-speaking northwest of Cameroon. Authorities described the Nugarbour killings as one of the worst incidents of abuse by security forces in the history of Cameroon's separatist crisis. The Central African state later acknowledged troops were responsible.
We feel that the investigation was a little quick, and that is why you probably heard me ask for a possible further investigation, because it is obvious that there were people, as you have heard, and watchdog committees, who have not appeared before the bar to respond to the fact that could possibly be brought before them.
And every December 18th, the United Nations celebrates the International Migrants Day to raise awareness about the estimated 272 million migrants that are integral members of our societies today. According to the UN, for this year, the theme is reimagining human mobility to highlight the social roles of migrants who contribute their knowledge, networks, and skills to build stronger, more resilient communities. This year, migrants have been at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19, working in health, transportation, and food services to help people, no matter if they are fellow countrymen or not. However, they frequently find themselves living on the margins of society and disproportionately affected by COVID-19 through job losses, evictions, and discrimination. Millions of migrants are stranded, often without income or shelter, unable to return home due to COVID-19 mobility restrictions, and they also face increased risk of trafficking and exploitation. For a world where migration could be a choice and not a necessity, let's celebrate Migration Day. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.